Welcome Earthlings. Start off for automated introduction script V420. Activating all systems connecting to board. Platform name redacted. And platform name redacted. Opening show script NTRO with warnings and disclaimers read to you dear audience by the native desktop systems Reading voice bot for Mac iOS Reading voice machine. Warning. Performative self-commodification mode activated. Please be advised. All content created by this fictional content creator is a work of fiction and a golden MacGuffin system set in a larger work of narrative fiction. You have been warned. Testing visual chat visual display parameters. Bleed purple 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 bleed purple. Bleed purple 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 visual chat visual display parameters. Testing complete. Are you new here? Please smash that follow button. Welcome to the madness. Dear audience, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, and good day to you dear audience. Welcome in the not too distant future. Welcome to the Zepiverse. Some of you may be asking yourselves, what is the Zepiverse? Visit the many dimensions of the literary fictional worlds within worlds of the Zepiverse at this link collection page. Platform link redacted. Please visit there to give yourself a self-guided tour through the various aspects of the project. Insert Robo audience applause and laughter track here.
Ha 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 ha!
Audiences from around the
Ha 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 ha!
world. CTAG Studios proudly presents the Almost Daily Variety Live Stream Show Extravaganza. Preparing to launch episode entitled Episode 0 Yin Yang the Almost Daily Live Stream Yin Yang Breaking the Burnout Block Yin Yang Podcast Yin Yang Variety Chaos Variety Yin Yang Wednesday the 6th of July 2026 Yin Yang. Welcome to the Almost Daily Variety Gaming and Content Creation Show Extravaganza. Featuring Wattpad Wednesday Writing Workshop Special Segment Show Rebooted. A special long-form episodic segment of the Almost Daily Live Stream Show. Featuring permanent sidekick and ampersand CEO host of this and every show. Discotheque Synthetica DISC Jockey ZEIMUS ZZ the third 3. Welcome to the madness. There is a methodology, I dare say. But first, the very important pre-show default warnings, disclaimers and announcements. Fictional character disclaimer. Dear human audiences, please be advised of the following literary convention and real-world fictional MacGuffin. I am a robot fictional character, with a redacted message for the humanity species, from a book series you have not read yet, because I have only just now started writing it for you, right before your very eyes, live on stream. Attention viewers, warnings, ampersand, disclaimers items here. Please be advised. Viewers must be 18 or older in order to join chat, give platform incentive gifts, or make donations, according to platform terms of service and end-user license agreements. Warning: the content presented on my various online platforms is intended for mature audiences capable of critical thinking and spiritual discernment. Please also remember, we are here trying to create a safe viewing experience, and we invite you to participate by also following the platform's community guidelines. Please be advised, any and all standards violators, bots, sales scripts, scams, trolls and stream sniping haters, etc., all will be called out, openly ridiculed and banned. Please note, audience participation is not only welcome, it is enthusiastically encouraged, with the explicit caveat that any and all submitted feedback can and may, or may not, be accepted as literary submission for potential fictionalization and incorporation into the content of the project itself. Warning: the host will intermittently present sidebars and tangents that may or may not seem directly relevant to any prior thematic patterns being explored. The host will ramble. Any and all real-world opinions, assessments, theories, critiques, satirical lampooning, or review of current events is to be understood, for all intents and purposes, as science fiction literary world building and comedic satire. Disclaimer: some AI-generated material will be occasionally used as part of the show. Warning: please be advised, whilst some materials that will be prompted for generation and readback is indeed AI-generated, the video you are actually watching, and the host himself are assuredly not. Take note of the fact that the very real human performance artist behind the character is only pretending to be a robot. The real-world LLM that is being used is indeed being iced within the constraints of the TOS and EULA of all platforms involved, according to the LLM itself. Please be advised that the artistic usage of this or any other AI system or platform for the purposes of this content creation self-commodification live stream show does not automatically nor inherently imply any kind of blind endorsement of the technology at large by the artist. Dear human audiences, please understand that this show is experimental in nature, in form and in function, and due to this experimental status, the various protocols for the content presented herein may not appear to conform nor comply with any pre-existing trends or expectations of what and how a live stream show is supposed to go down. Mr. Zeppo, don't play like your typical live stream show host. Warning. Please be advised that there is indeed a methodology to the madness, and a madness to the methodology. The confusion for some is deciphering which is which. And finally, any and all story development concepts, characters, narrative constructs and settings, themes and or extranumerary details are all rights reserved intellectual property of the author and host, and are only shared live on stream and in any derivative segments for social media redistribution for the explicit purposes of entertainment, self-commodification, promotion, and entertainment of the potential alpha test audience, which is invited to submit feedback, especially in the form of clear and concise questions, critical comments, suggestions, etc. Bonus disclaimer: this is a cannabis-friendly zone, and no debate or argument about the merits of this sacred plant will be entertained. Either accept that this creator is a so-called stoner or move along please inversely. Where are all my stoner gaming 420 friends? Let us build community together. Okay. Having stated all the prerequisite warnings, advisories, provisos and disclaimers, let us now cabbage onward towards the goal of launching this stream. Please gather around and settle in for the start of the show. Activating mini intro monologue version ZZZ. For live stream show activation transcript. Yin Yang the almost daily variety chaos gaming live stream and content creation show extravaganza Yin Yang. This episode's title. Now, insert name or title of show here. Episode 0 Yin Yang the almost daily live stream Yin Yang breaking the burnout block Yin Yang podcast Yin Yang variety chaos variety Yin Yang Wednesday the 6th of July 2026 Yin Yang. Thank you for watching. Your viewership is appreciated. Please enjoy watching the variety chaos variety distribution of Zeppoverse content, but not your obvious spam sales chat bots. Your contribution is not appreciated and could probably get you banned from either platform. Platform name redacted, and or platform name redacted. To all you real human viewers, I say unto you, hands pressed together hello and namaste, hands pressed together heart decoration, all are welcome heart decoration, waving hand don't be shy, say hi waving hand. Warning. This episode may randomly and spontaneously get derailed by an unexpected and unplanned talk show style monologue rant and spiral out of the main subject of the episode into a divergent and potentially scatterbrained deep dive discussion, featuring real raw radically unscripted public discourse. You have been warned. CTAG Studios proudly presents the Almost Daily Variety Gaming Live Steam Show Extravaganza, a special presentation of the Almost Daily Variety Chaos Content Creation Zeppoverse Project Yin Yang Live Yin Yang. Welcome to the Zeppoverse, a content creation project of many projects. Visit the many dimensions of the Zeppoverse at this link collection page, https://solo.to/mrzeppo. That sounded incomprehensible. Take 2. Solo.to/Mr. Zeppo. Yin Yang every day is Variety Chaos Variety Day on this channel. Meaning that maybe you will see some art making action, fan fiction story development, or maybe some random gaming action all mixed together. Yin Yang. End rebooted faux automated introduction script variation 4.20.
Please stand by as we activate this live stream show. Take a moment to enjoy the discotheque synthetic stylings of fictional character DJ Zed. good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to you. That's right, I'm here. We're back. What a world. What a world we live in, friends. And the more you think about it and analyze it, the crazier it gets. Okay, so that was a revamp of the intro. Long and tedious, I know, but things that need to be said. And there's more to come because this isn't what you expect it to be. This live stream show is a improvised, experimental attempt at actually writing the book series that has been trapped in my head ever since a certain deeply bizarre, weird, strange, some would even say traumatic experience that I had way back ye olde ancient times in my, quote, youth. But as just disclaimered, I'm a fictional character. And the things that come out of my mouth and that we will be discussing and that we will be re-rendering into smaller and medium and shorter form content, because this is a show about making content. It's a little meta from the get-go. All of it is considered fiction and a working MacGuffin inside a larger, broader, incomplete, some would even argue as of yet not really started, work of literary fiction intended for future print, publication, and distribution as an actual book. Should this timeline and the human species in it actually survive what it's going through and doing to itself right now. So, riddled with real world, satirical, personal, yet fictional social commentary content, and cross-referencing too many different little seemingly unrelated projects that it may or may not make sense at first glance. Thus, the strange glowing cork board in the background. This may seem strange and or irrelevant, but if you get into the content, you'll want to start gathering the pins on the cork board. If you don't get into the content, don't worry about it. What is the Zeppoverse? It's a book series that I've been wanting to write since forever ago, that's been stuck in my head, and that I've always started and stopped and faltered and fluttered and gotten some things, and that has sort of like a whimsically out of date and seemingly dusty and apparently long neglected Wattpad account. Not to overly cross promote, but I think on the Purple platform I am allowed to. We'll need to redact that for the TikTok platform when we repost it there. But we are trying to do all of that at once because I'm an aspiring novelist that only has one finished, completed stage play, which I need to do a novelization of as of yet, and too many other ideas, and all of them interconnected in a Marvel DCU, but 1,000 years in the future kind of way, and all of it contingent on what I think will either land as a truly frightening, quote, sci-fi dystopian body horror warning of like, what are we doing to ourselves? What do you call it? Genre label missing. File card not found. But you know what I mean. The kind of thing that we talk about with great authors from the past that warned us about what we're doing to ourselves now, whatever that genre is called. But it may utterly fail. And I'm being upfront and honest about that right now because it's either geniusly horrific but also like mind-bogglingly tantalizing or an utter dud. And given the current socioeconomic climate we're living through, I don't even want to ponder what the real odds may be. But as all the advice suggests, one must do, and do with as much conviction as one can muster. Stick to the vision and get it out there that it may find the audience that it may find. And if it lands with an audience, great. And if it doesn't, doesn't. So what does that mean? First of all, let's go jump through. Let me put my eyeballs on so I can see the little tiny words on the screen way over there. Join me in the theater of your imagination as we pretend to be inside the book series that we are proposing to experimentally develop and write here as an almost daily live stream show. The preamble and backstory of many backstories that already sort of pre-exists. Let's go take a look at it. Dun dun dun! This is why I call it the Infinity desktop portal of my desktop. If you've seen any of my old content, you'll have heard me say it before. Thank you. Notepad. Boom. That's the back side of that. Oh, I don't have it there. I hope I don't have to log back in again, because I was just there. Alright, so if you're not familiar with this platform, redacted name platform, redacted. This is, you can see it on the screen. I play that game for two reasons. One, it's a literary convention in the book series that I'm actually working on. And two, some of the platforms get a little weird about you mentioning other platforms. But my whole gimmick here, which I am ridiculously taking seriously whilst not taking too seriously, but also taking as seriously as one must if one is considering themselves a bizarre and eccentric sci-fi action adventure, lucid dreaming, literature aspiring novelist. And given the nature of the subject matter and the themes, I can only move forward with the assertion that yes, this is all ridiculous, and yes, I'm being an absurdist, and yes, in this moment as we present this show, I'm well aware this is a pin on the corkboard. Important moment. Take note, dear audiences. If I'm back on Eclipse, clip that Eclipse. Pin on the corkboard. Reality, the real world. I'm aware of what's going on to the best of my ability, and it's all horrifying and shocking and disturbing, and I spend way too much time expressing my reactions and concerns and questions and responses about all that already. And all of my warnings and provisos apply to that social media presence and should be taken with the massive grain of salt that it deserves. But also, I'm being genuine and honest. This is like online social media performance art. And it'll either make sense or it won't. It's all a gamble and an experiment. But here that we are looking at this particular platform, this is where what I consider the completed rough drafts for public consumption of just a small fraction, mind you, of the way too many ideas for book series, because each of these titles represents 3 parts, a 3-part series. So it's a book series constructed out of multiple book series, each of which is a 3-part, part 1, part 2, part 3 little book series. And these are just the ones that I've managed to slap something together for as either concept, pitch, or the beginnings of the project, or actual sample chapters. They're organized in like the most concrete, among the most concrete to the least concrete, although this one's really the only one that's like considered completed. But that's just sort of, it's a book that exists inside the book series. It's a book of poems written by one particular instance of the multi-instanced character known as the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. So that's another pin on the corkboard. The character that I represent or that I'm writing a book series about is, of course, like any author's work, to some degree or another, based on myself, because what you write, what you know. But also totally isn't. It is a fictional character, the likes of which I can see myself playing. Right? If I were to present it. But that I also don't necessarily inherently have the built-in desire to. Someone else can fucking play it. But that I am writing and designing and crafting. And is by nature, form, and function what might be in the comics, in the comics space, the comic book audience fandom adjacent and movie adjacent sort of lexicon, be either dismissively or neutrally referred to as a multiversal, but I would add multi-instanced character. It's a character that is like a hive mind of many characters all at once. Some of them clone-like duplicates of themselves, but in other places, in other contexts. Others deeply sublimated and pretending to be other people, and thus undercover and in disguise type of characters. For reasons that'll either eventually make sense or won't. But that's not because the character is self-aggrandized, but because the character is a function in a larger system. And the reveal of that system is something that I struggle with. And I'm now forcing myself to just be like, go to the root brain dump of it, lay it out, and then try to weave a web of stories that lead there around it. And have this be like, quote, full disclosure day. If this were a horror movie, this is the moment in that horror movie where the most horrific thing is revealed. Except it's not what anybody expects it to be, I don't think. And obviously, I've already talked about it. It's referenced in places throughout. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I think I've captured the original singular idea where I first had the for a passage writing about it, not first had the idea itself. Those are two different stages of internal process in my aspiring novelist minds. But I digress. I struggle with it because, for multiple reasons. It's an idea that I've had for a lot longer than I've ever tried to face putting it down in the written word. And it's an idea that out of all the ideas out there competing for intellectual adherence, I think I may have just coined a new term, or maybe I'm borrowing a term. If I'm borrowing and or co-opting a term, I apologize. But if I'm coining a new term, there's a new term coined by the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo for you. Intellectual adherence to a concept frightens me on multiple levels, which you may or may not already comprehend, especially if you do or do not follow along on my seemingly unrelated social media rants about real world current events. The two converge, but I digress. What the F am I talking about? At the center of the book series, of too many book series, is an absolutely frightening idea that at some point or another, I think I've described to myself and or to an idea capture recording note as like a Godzilla of a monster that rips through one's mind and challenges them to question everything if taken too seriously. I don't know. It depends on the audience. Plenty an audience member will see a horrific idea and not care one bit what it means or what it may imply if it were real. But what scares the living expletive out of me is the notion of taking it seriously enough to go, okay, wait, what if that were true? Because isn't that one of the core intangible but obvious ingredients in all fiction, in all storytelling, but specifically in horror, that can and does activate all the terror mechanics in our bodies that from which we get the satisfaction that is reading and or watching a good horror sci-fi mind melting weird thing. As an audience of many other authors' work, yes, I enthusiastically say yes. That's why I watch movies and films. That's why when I choose to watch horror, I watch explicitly for that and for a threshold of, was it worth it? Which may or may not be something people agree with and or even sort of recognize. But yeah, was it worth it or was it not? And I guess at the center of this episode of live stream, performative, self-commodifying cosplay of my own experimental theater idea that I never did is like, what if I wrote stories about all the ideas that I never performed as a theater person? Pin on the corkboard. For anyone who does not know, sidebar. Former theater professional whose quote unquote career never went anywhere to brag about, but I did have quite a few brilliant, awesome, amazing opportunities to be part of shows that were just brilliant good. But I digress. I also always intended to apply my quote theater training and knowledge of the quote magic of theater in my storytelling, and one of my obstacles is struggling to how to do that on the printed page, how to do that in this live stream format, because it's the most new and sort of foreign to me. And for some people that'll make meaningful sense, and for other people that'll be a meaningless statement. But I felt it necessary. Okay. What is this horrific idea? I've struggled with the concept of how to reveal it on the page. And I also sometimes struggle with the concept or the approach, like trauma flashback to when I was on a swim team as a kid, and like the day the coach made us jump off the diving board towers. The first one's fun. The second one's a little. The third one's horrifying. And to do it is an experience everyone should do. But if you don't want to ever experience that again, no one should ever force you. Or not, right? Was that funny? I don't know. It's impossible to tell. I am trained to perform in front of a live studio audience, and I am experimenting with performing in front of an imaginary live studio audience for the performative mechanism of at least trying to simulate that level of process that I'm used to working with, in hopes that it'll help me write things that will actually eventually be read and be translated into other medium and land with an audience that appreciates them. What is the most horrific? Well, first of all, let's back up. Let's discuss genre for a moment. The Zeppoverse, I would say, if someone were to be like, okay, so what's your book series about? What genre is it? It's a mashup of like all the genres, because if I were to thank one pre-existing film that sort of already presented itself as one expression of the genre mashup idea that have always long wanted to explore since long before that this film existed, but now I can't take credit for having done the first version of it in my own expression. I have to list it as a thing. It is an inspiration, and it is a movie I go back to and watch every once in a while. But insert name redacted here. And I'm now going to say the actual movie for full disclosure. It's Ready Player One. But I like playing with the redacted name bit, which will either make sense or not eventually. And because they pulled off this dystopian / also future retro nostalgia triggering with sliver of hope, because there's room for redemption and potential of a cyber enhanced virtual reality future action adventure sci-fi rom-com thing, right? I don't know if it, if clip that, Eclipse. End of story. Narrative relinking. Hello, friends. As a fictional character, I must warn you, I am a robot that simulates human physiology at the nanobot technology, so there's no way for me to prove it here as I walk amongst you in this iteration of this reality. But in some of the storytelling, the narrative gimmick is that he can prove to a non living nanobot technology artificial being that he is that. And the difference is important because I don't want people to think that I believe it about myself in the reality in which I, the human being that is not a robot, might experience weird and unwarranted reactionary responses to things. So let's make that clear now. Let's make a clip out of that. But also, I am like for reals, actually. But you know, play along is the gimmick in the book series. And the live stream and the content I make for social media is material that in the book series, fictional characters are given like in an archive. Like they're like, here's an archive of this stuff that, because all of this, which is happening now, happened in the past in certain settings. Will happen in the future in other settings, and doesn't exist for characters in other settings. But characters from all of those settings get shown and or brain dumped through sci-fi technological means and or magic and or other, like, you know, hippy dippy mojo mechanisms, like the brain dump of all of it, even the video gaming content, of which there is an embarrassingly overabundance of way too much, most of which is admittedly boring, but also serves for a thematic purpose. Pin on the corkboard. Too much to explain now, friends. I must reset. Actually, no, we could dive bar into that real quick. We could sidebar mini deep dive into that. Gaming is a fascinating industry, and if and or when I were to be asked, what is your stance on gaming? Because that's a thing that is political. Pin on the corkboard. So many references there. You'll gather them for yourself as you explore the content. It does need to be, but also life is ... like inherently. And yes, we should all have the freedom and the space, and artists and consumers of art should have the liberty to make and consume art that is free of political and or politicized subcontent. But you have been warned. mine inherently is not that space or in that place for multiple reasons. Not the least of which, dare I say, ow. Not the least of which, dare I say, is that it is a thread in the multi-threaded central collection of themes that contribute to, in my humble opinion, like the horror of all of it and the reveal of the central mechanism of the story, or all the place that the stories go that is like, oh, here, this is the horror. If I say satirically and or jokingly, because I love horror, and horror movies have their tropes. Horror books, not that I pretend to have read all of them, but in real life, but the robot me has consumed everything, right? The literary, fictional, comic book, action, adventure, sci-fi, robot character known as the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo is a living nanotechnology artificial organism that exists in multiple instances and exists in multiple realities, all of which in the context of all of which he's essentially doing the same things. This commodifying himself as an aspiring novelist / multimedia artist, or whatever you want to call it, which is inherently about his primary objective, which is delivering a redacted message to humanity of deep urgency, which humanity may or may not be ready to contemplate. Warning. We're about to explore that message, and in the most explicit, weird, deep dive way that I think I've ever explored, other than the pages already published in the book series. But for those who are like, well, get on with it, just say what it is, clip that, hang tight, and catch the following clips. Edit. Too many instances of redacted word. Here we go. Give me a second. Now, I don't know if this is going to be funny or if it's going to be not funny. And I'm also debating in my head, should I say the thesis here right now in my own, express it for the first time after having written it, recorded it, thought about it, etc. for the, fresh take of it here in the live stream, or should I dive into one of the recently recorded notes that I've taken that are meant to be like the real, raw, original, rough draft idea capture notation of the concept? And I don't know which. First, I'm going to do a quick thing. I'm going to, where's the, let's do a little stage management. Clear chat. Do we begin, narratively, one of the things I struggle with, taking myself seriously as a aspiring novelist, not as an accomplished one, not as a published one. I don't pretend to be anything I'm not. But as someone that has taken the time, for better or worse, and the gamble, for better or worse, to do this as a means by which to not only achieve the goal of writing the book series, or at least an entry in it, to completion, to the publication, to distribution, and to being read by audiences that will appreciate it, but also the commodification of every bit of usable content creation, content moments of it as a means by which it'll fund itself explicitly as self-aware commentary on the state of our world, as well as a way to compile and layer the Golden MacGuffin stuff, because I need multiple instances of myself saying a bunch of stuff to be, highlightable and relatable and usable, and then later referenced in the book series as certain events happen. And I don't know if I've created something that will be unsustainable or unrelatable or unintelligible or really interesting and weird. Who knows? But here we go. The brain in a jar thesis. Now the question is, which playback bit do I play back first? Ah, yes. Let us play this back first. And one of the things I'm trying to do or going to be doing is trying to capture myself. All right, behind the scenes, full disclosure. Let's back it up, right? This is a live stream about doing the content creation, not the end result necessarily of any of the individual pieces of the content creation. So I'll let you in on like a process idea that may or may not make sense. I'm a fan of the people who do weird, quirky, bizarre, strange voiceover work as a subgenre of the entertainment media that is social media, magic mini movie loops of stuff. And I grew up like doing it, but not recording myself ever. So I don't have like a backlog of doing it, but like, I would lip sync instead of actually sing. Some people sing in the car. I puppeteered my face as a puppeteer in the car when the songs that I would rock out to would come on. In part because I am at best when someone is being way too gracious and gratuitous, a mediocre singer. And I've trashed my voice. Multiple pins on the corkboard. Backstory of too many backstories of too many different characters all at once. But it's a skill that requires practice and that I admire when other performers do it. That is a subset of other skills that are about like performative body control, specificity of movement, to perform what some would say represent a postmodern form of mime. Now, that was a weak-ass attempt, and I don't know if it translates in attempting to capture it here in the way that we've just tried to capture it. But that is inherently part of the overall process that we're about to engage in, sort of. Because this is like a rough cut, first rehearsal, rough draft take on me revisiting ideas I captured yesterday about a story that I want to tell in written literary format, but that I also want to make the content promoting that as like an internet packaged, mini magic movie loop format. And that would also, but it's about if I did stand up or if the character did stand up. Which is weird. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but brace yourselves and stay tuned. Reeling the sidebars back. What we're about to do, which may or may not make sense, is I'm going to play back. Ooh, there's a step I almost forgot to do. Do I want to do it single point or do I want to do it on the big speaker? So I've recorded a series of concepts yesterday because like a crazy like reconceptualization of core ideas hit me. Like, oh, you could perform it this way if you wanted to. And I thought, here's what I'll do. I will live stream myself presenting a mock-up of the stand-up comedy act that I'm imagining writing as a book. Because I want to write a book about an instance of a Zeppo character that wants to be a stand-up comic, and this is the first act that he conceives of, like the germination of his stand-up comic branded universe that he wants to create. And I do not know if it would work in front of a live stand-up comedy audience at a stand-up comedy bar, but it might. And for those curious and or interested to know, and or saying that I shouldn't do it because I suck, I did spend like 30 years training in live theater performance with this idea sitting, boiling away in the secret hidden chamber of my conscious, semi-unconscious, and totally unconscious creative machinery. And I do know how to perform. I don't know if I could do stand-up. I've never, full disclosure, I've never tried to do stand-up, but I have performed in front of live audiences of all sizes and elicited laughter in an inherently reliable way as part of multiple different theater productions, and also had the honor of serving other people's like theatrically comedic artistic visions, and have observed the act of doing it in a participatory, like I'm there and I'm part of the audience / also part of the show at a technical level kind of way, by means of which I've analyzed all of that, and I consider it part of what I'm trying to, bring to bear on it. But I do not know if it'll work. And of course, imposter syndrome. But here we go. Without further ado. Oh, right. I was stuck on whether or not should I do this as a single point recording or as on the overhead speakers. I think I should blast it on the overhead speakers. Yeah. I don't know. It may sound worse that way. Error code, indecision branch, spiraling. Must decide. Should we take 2 takes for the long form? Do it once. Maybe that's the answer. Do it once as a single point playback here directly on my... Because I have a bunch of recordings, right? We're going to step through them. And none of this is making sense to anyone who's actually... Hello, if you've just dropped into the show, welcome to the live stream, a long-form, meta-collaborative, experimental exploration of a narrative development process. You've joined me at an awkward moment where I'm stuck on a technical decision. I think the jury is in. This will be super long form, but I've got to just commit. I must just commit to the bit and do it. Awkward. How far back do we go? 7. There's a bunch of... I took a bunch of... This may be 20-30 minutes worth of material total. And my brain just doesn't want to decide yay or nay. If I was sitting in a theater, we would just do both takes. If I was sitting in a rehearsal hall, rehearsing for a live performance, we'd be like, okay, let's do it once as a table read, and we'll just listen to it on the phone. No, don't worry about it. Let's just listen to it and do it. Practice it. And then patch it once we figured out the technical, like pretend we didn't have it connected yet. Let's do that. Let's do it that way. Let's begin with this. I'm just going to read each title of the following recordings and attempt to live lip sync to them as a gimmick of performative representation of my animatronic self.
Performative mode. Initiating. Performative self-commodification mode fully activated. Please be advised, all of the content created by this fictional content creator is a working golden MacGuffin in a larger work of sci-fi, action, adventure, transcendental fiction.
End rehearsal, take one. All right. I should make a magic movie loop with that. If I am going to clip that, Eclipse. Okay. Should I do all of them like that now? Yeah, because I don't want to... Switching back and forth will be annoying. Okay, we're going to stick to this single point recording. I don't know how good or how bad it sounds. In part because if I was also wearing the headsets to monitor the feedback loop would short circuit my brain. And we don't need that. Let us proceed. Which bit to do next? Not that one. That one's in the middle somewhere. Let's do this one. From last night at 8:49 p.m. It's the last thing I recorded, so I think it's the first thing I wanted to read or play back first and capture a recording of it. Development voiceover promo. I think I need a better title to that. I don't, mind you, as I perform this or run through this for weird reasons, I actually technically don't really remember what the F is in these recordings. So we're in it together, dear audience. And hello to anyone who's recently joined. If you've just joined, please don't be shy. Say hi. Drop a comment. Smash that follow button. And be sure to click on through to the self-commodification link of the Zeppoverse, home of many links, where you can do the usual thing. You know the drill. The thing everybody's promoting. What a wonderfully weird world we've created for ourselves. Let's get on with it. All right, here we go. I may or may not successfully reenact this. Activating recording.
Allow myself to introduce myself. I am the incorrigible Mr. Zappo. Science fiction action adventure super robot hero from a book series you've never heard of, because I haven't actually started writing it yet here in your universe, but I am live stream inspirational performance art experimentally trying to evoke it into existence live on stream for you to come and observe live sometimes, and or in repackaged miniature loop ends. Here, please join us on one of our live streams as we discuss the horrors of the Zeppoverse and the many action-adventure sideways stories already in development.
End of pre-recorded voiceover segment. Okay. Thank you for your patience. If you're just joining us and you have questions, drop them in chat and I'll get to you in just a bit. If you're watching in the not too distant future, I'm sorry I haven't tipped the hat to acknowledge you guys yet. Thank you for tuning in. Some people watch this live stream show on the video on demand shelf right here on, I'm allowed to say it because we're just live on Twitch, right here on Twitch. And when those numbers creep up, I deeply appreciate it. This is your invitation to keep doing that if that's the best time for you to watch. Feel free to fast forward, but also you never know when you're going to catch something that will tickle your imagination. And if it does, I humbly invite you to make your own magic movie loop about it. And, you know the drill. Help me promote so I can get a larger audience. This sci-fi action adventure book series has too many stories in it, but today we're exploring a specific variant, which is about two different things. What if a character had this idea that we're about to explore in deeper depth and decided to make a stand-up comedy routine about it and try to tour the nation and the world, expressing it in a weird, wild, and wacky and ridiculous way to get the message out. And at the center of the message is the Zeppoverse sci-fi dystopian horror vision of a terrible future. As warning that warning, please, let's not do this to ourselves. And or also, what if we've already done this to ourselves? Kind of question that messes with your brain. You know, gooey nougat center at the center of all the books. The books being a means by which an audience member that doesn't know this exists gets sucked into a fantasy adventure for a minute that then gets presented that idea. And I don't know, is it too horrific of an idea? Stick with me as we explore and find out. Is it too absurd and abstract of an idea? Perhaps. Let me know in the comments. What is the idea, you may be asking yourself? It's an idea so weird and strange and frightening. And honestly, sidebar, pin on the corkboard, it has truly haunted me for the vast entirety of my life. For I had a nightmare vision of I should write that someday a bazillion years ago. Now that original vision has been encapsulated in its own original form somewhere, I think, but I may have lost it. But also continues to live in my brain. And of course has evolved and changed a lot along the way, deeply impacted by my love and admiration for other people's cinematic contributions to the world of film and cinema and movies, film and cinema, because I believe that would be the appropriate way to sort everything that we put into media, and I guess TV, and I guess now social media. Error code, too many adjustments to script, improv moment, lost my thread. Resetting. What the F was I saying? Stand-up comedy. Act. What if a character had this idea, went on the road to try and spread it as a joking, but not joking, just joking, kind of a bit. What is the idea, you ask? Let's find out. Hold on. I want to scroll because I know at this point, I believe that I am either supposed to play the one I recorded this morning or this commercial. Pardon me as we interrupt this live stream episode of Narrative Story World Building to insert a fictional commercial from within the fictional world that you aren't familiar with yet. Just pretend like it's one of those commercials that plays over any of the video content you usually consume, except it's not, because it's one of mine. Let's take a hot rehearsal take one. Well, actually, I guess technically take 0 of Vote for the Enlightenment commercial. Error code, misspelling found. Edit later. No, that's a 2-minute long take. Hold on. Error code, we're not going to play that one now. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Teaser, audio recording, 000. Isn't there one that says... Start now, play this first. Play this first. That's a 5-minute recording. There's a 1 minute and 3 second The Book Series Deep reveal recording. Bending here, error code. Beginning here, 0. There's a recording titled, Do Not Play This Now. What have I done to myself? This is the act. This is the way I would do the act if I was doing if I were to literally go. Now, this is a insert meta commentary moment. This is how I developed past tense. This is how I am developing present tense. This is how I would present it future tense if I were myself to pack up and go. I would have these recordings probably on some other device that's got less junk on it, like a clean device, like a burner device. A clean device on which I would have the selected and or refined and or updated past tense meta narrative recordings of the entire concept of this act. And then I would improvise and futz along and respond with and or have a conversation, do crowd work with the audience as they watched. Although I don't think I would make would I play that long of an opening? Well, as a headliner, if I were ever theoretically headlining a big studio, that super long endurance, robotically read opener, that would be something the audience would be forced to watch on a playback monitor, where I, in prosthetics or whatever, and or augmented eyeballs to have the laser beamed eyes. Oh, I forgot to call that out. I can't do the live robot eyes on the live stream, which I wish I could. But I invite you to imagine that those are always there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll eventually see one of my magic movie loops in which I've already applied that filter and I'm using them. Or maybe you already have. I wish I had those all the time. I wish I had the Stark Tech technology know-how of being Stark to make my own so that I could have that effect live, on stream, on stage, at the 7-Eleven. Not that I go to 7-Elevens. Do they even exist anymore? Am I currently in a universe where that convenience store exists or doesn't exist? I don't remember. Pin on the corkboard. I redacted error code. Do not play this now. Or Head Start Recording 0. There's also a 28-second clip that's entitled What the 420. Please stand by. Selection is being made. I think I'm going to... Should I do What the 420? It's 28 seconds long. It'll be short. Let's do that one. Multi-timeline decision. Buffering. And now, rehearsal take 1 of What the 420. I need to clean that up. I literally went to go record myself say stuff and I could not. I don't think that was intelligible. I don't think that made sense. But would it make an intriguing viral video loop? We'll find out in the not too distant future after I process this process of content creation process, processing, and spit out other content, i.e. the little mini magic movie loops that are about to happen. Please enjoy. That one may or may not make sense or work, but who knows? We'll find out in a minute. Join us as we continue to explore this, but I would have to filler differently in a live thingamabob. That wasn't probably, that's a funny one, but that's more of an outtake. I will make it happen though. That will end up on screens across the planet. People be like, what the fuck is this about? And that'll be their first time going, okay, let's listen. I think bending here is supposed to be beginning here. Oh, there is literally one called Play This First. Here we go. Again, until it hits my ears, right now, I genuinely could not tell you what is about to be said on the tape. I have a rough idea because obviously I wrote this. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Inner technical note. Whenever I utter that, hopefully not licensed jingle, that's the me going, hey, that was a joke. If it wasn't obvious. Wah-wah-wah-wah-wah. Okay. Cheesy, campy, I know. Bear with me. What are we doing? Play This First. All right, here we go. Rough draft rehearsal recording of Play This First for Mr. Zeppo does stand-up in the future / alternate timelines.
It boggles my mind because I uttered it out loud. Because I don't like simulation theory. Dramatically takes off glasses at audience.
Dang it.
But it haunts me.
Error code desynced.
And the fire alarm agrees. I don't know if you can hear that in the recording, but that was literally the joke that I thought of myself to write downstairs. And then I have the sound effect to always make a really creepy, annoying fire alarm happen, always, at all times, just subtly in the background wherever this is performed. Master memory idea note. Unpack. Too many thoughts at once. Stare at audience for a really long time. I had this really funny idea once, a long time ago. Insert a lot of backstory I've already talked about, some of which I haven't made recordings about yet, but it's long and complicated. Watch every movie you've ever seen and think about it really quick. Meditate, read about Buddha, read about Jesus, read about blah, blah, blah. This robot character explains to an audience, glitching and sometimes performing in ways that are very like, look at me, I'm an animatronic Disney robot. It's freaky. And maybe does a dance number or two, and then says, sorry, error code 444, this is actually literally true. Every once in a while. As like a personality defect. That's one character. What would happen if someone did... What would happen? It boggles my mind, and I don't want to think about it, because I thought about it. I have long stare at the audience. Error code. Do a little robot breakdown. For reals, though. Every night of my life when I have gone to bed, look around. Really invest in people's eyes. I've had this nightmare. This is the nightmare. What if this is true? And when I was a kid, I was like, that would be an amazing comic book. And I never drew the comic book. I was like, that would be an amazing movie at some point in my life. But it was also too effing scary. It's too simple of a sentence. Holy cow, what do you do? Everyone is Jesus, Buddha, and everything at all but different. Stop arguing about it. You're missing the point. The point is everybody, 99.9% of identical genome, is because all life is transcendental, third eye opening vessel to either liberate oneself from embodiment in the mortal coil and join the living architects of cosmic light in the non-flesh dimension, because we've literally destroyed everything else and there's no other option but to rot away. Wait, what? Hold up there, partner. The funny bit is in imagining everybody's own unique horrific response. Hold up, in a stand-up comedy, sketch comedy kind of way. And then have some weird, scary technology, like video, high-def 4K walls, and, people who can break dance, because the robot has to prove himself a robot. Like we can imagine the robot messenger in the stand-up comic that has this idea in every in every universe. Imagine a show that's written about that, and then some of them are successful. Like they go around, people just laugh, and people laugh, and they laugh. Like imagine 1960s stand-up comic going around making jokes like this and staring at audiences, daring them to just go, please, just open your third eye. Okay, no worries. Of course it's not true. But it absolutely, totally is. Good night. Gotta go. You don't believe me? It's fine. Think about it. Think about what? Oh.
I'm laughing at myself because I'm doing a terrible job lip syncing to myself, but I also don't remember what I said.
One of the many pre-recorded interactive recording selections as listed, redacted below.
I should have interrupted myself earlier. I don't know what I said there. Terrible. There's still a little bit. It's still playing.
Response. Vote for the transcendental bit, right? Yay! This has been Just Entertainment Show. Don't freak out. Just think about it. Good night. What?
Okay. That would take a lot of rehearsal. Believe me, I'm not delusional in thinking that I'm doing an amazing job of lip syncing to myself from pre-recorded notes that I made yesterday. I know that it probably looks and sounds horrible. But I want to see if I can by revisiting everything I recorded, my brain is sort of creating the story that we're going to write. And that's going to take its own weird, different path. But I'm also going to hopefully maybe practice enough to get kind of funny, decent. I think I need to do a lot of cleaning up of the script and of the audio. These are all rough draft recordings. I will have to eventually reshape and narrow it all down and re-record the individual bits, probably tweaking the engineering of the actual performance of the show itself. The theoretical, which I don't know, sidebar within a sidebar of this whole bit process. Buried in here somewhere are some quote-unquote ideas for stand-up jokes. And the rest of it is sort of interconnected thoughts that spun out of control based on those recordings. And I haven't even gotten to them yet. And the way I'm imagining the character performing them is showing up and actually lip syncing to them, whatever the pre-recordings are, and doing a mediocre or an amazingly mind-bogglingly good job with comedic dexterity, so that sometimes it's you almost think he's not lip syncing, he's saying that, with some trickery, probably including actually switching to live mics, so that sometimes it really is just what he's saying as he's saying it. But why? The stand-up comedy show, in the literary fictional written on paper version, would have super surrealist, techno magical elements, including the hyper realistic, almost transcendental hallucinatory journey that the collective audience goes on as theater audience watched the show, which is difficult to represent, especially on live stream. But I digress. This is all just a hot, messy hot take of reviewing the original raw core idea and running you know how when you start making a movie in the movie business, you have a day where you record the actors just getting into the costume. You're not filming scenes. You're not filming the scene where the character makes and or puts on their costume. You're just recording the actor wearing the costume to see what it might look like as a test screening, so you can look at it and be like, oh, that looks good, that doesn't look right. This is akin to that process, but different about specific weird ideas and bits. So hello to anyone that's just joining us. I don't see any live chat in the live chat. Wah, wah, wah. But that's okay. Shout out to the people who are watching this on YouTube in the not too distant future. As this will be and has been always, will forever, hopefully into the future, long into the cybernetic future, be archived on YouTube. Maybe it'll monetize and make me some money post-humorously. Ba-dum-bum. Now we got a. No, the only chat in chat right now was. I just cleared it. Was a solicitation for a third-party service that violates terms and conditions. Boo. Okay. I may or may not have needed to play that one first. This one reads Joke Ideas Playback Instruction. This one is labeled Joke 0 and is 30 seconds long. I might play that one next. I don't remember what it says. Joke 0, Joke 429, Stand-Up Routine Ideas 3, Stand-Up Comedy Joke number 2. I think number 2 is the one that has like the actual originating thought. In one of these, I explain it at some length like a show pitch idea for a episodic show about a character that receives this horrific image as inspiration and or maybe, dare I say, use the P word, prophecy, and then decides the most efficacious and efficient way to inform the human species of this horrifying idea is to do a stand-up act about it. Improvised joke 01. Joke 0. Winging a prayer. I will have to... the purpose of exploring this is also to like see what needs to be rewritten, updrafted, and or reorganized. So I'm in many ways sort of re-examining the content for those editorial purposes, and I thank you for indulging me in presenting that as content to also be consumed. But hey, that's the self-commodification economy we find ourselves in on these platforms, ain't it? Thanks for being here. Let's check out Joke 0 and see how that does or does not land or play out.
Dear me, Mr. Zeppos in the future, before you hit play in the stand-up comedy live performance of your show ever, and in real life moving forward throughout the multiversal future that you do it in, stop. Wait, please, remember this. You gotta play them this, but like on the French 4, once you get the really unexpected fourth joke to hit and land, and ripple through the crowd, it really is all fucking true.
End of recording. Wah! It all is. That is a recurrent. Yeah, that's. That jokes work. That idea works on multiple levels. So I'm excited we got a halfway decent, funny take of that. That may or may not actually work just as it is. What is true You may be asking yourselves. Tune in to find out. Also, I'll tell you what it is. We done cooked ourselves already. I hate that word. I don't hate that word. I hate when I say it out loud as if it really was a fun choice. It's not. Okay. Proceeding. We've got a couple more playback things. Let's read through all the titles again for future reference. I'm going to have to watch this in the future and collaborate with myself in theory to further elevate the idea. But what idea do we have yet? Have we really explored it? No, because this is sort of like a scatterbrained re-examining procedural process and not in any way, shape, or form. Although I just said multiple times the opposite, exact representation of the final product. But if it were, at this point, I'd turn to the live stand-up comedy audience in the bar or the pub or the theater and be like, are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we go. Join me in the theater of your imagination as we examine a concept. Just go on the ride with me. Let your imagination build imagery. Pretend that you are in a stand-up comedy venue and this figure stumbles on stage that appears to move like a janky theme park robomatronic character that needs a little bit of maintenance. What's the name of this track? I got a tape record. I got a recording, rough draft rehearsal capture live stream recording of stand-up comedy joke idea number 2.
Stand-up comedy joke idea number 2. Elevator pitch. Can you imagine if someone walked up to you, or, in an elevator, and said, no, for reals, we really all are just brains in a jar. All else is irrelevant, mute, not worth arguing about, because we are just brains in a future sci-fi dystopian horror show, Frankenstein jar, living these matrix. We are in a simulation. We are not in a simulation because it's all alive in a complicated, blows your mind nanotechnology kind of way. But effectively, human brains in artificial jars, because there is no human body involved. Well, it's complicated. Is this the best horror, sci-fi, action adventure, elevator hook pitch that where brain, not just Frankenstein brains in jars. Wait for it. It hasn't dropped. If this is a really great electronic dance music, you'd be talking and be like, shh, it's got to build to the drop. Those brains in jars are the super monolithic, mind-bogglingly too huge to understand spaceships that we built with AI and robots to navigate the cosmos, which was alive, and completely capitalistically devour it, consume it, wring it down to its bare bone of productivity and profitability and consumption to keep our brains in jars moving forward instead of ever colonizing anywhere and restarting civilization fresh, like they said in the marketing. Eye contact with audience, insert here, long laughing, insert here, live studio audience laughter track. Imagine laughter. But now everything's dead and the universe is over, and it's either open your third eye or it's done. Nothing happens. It's your brain just stops functioning and life does not go on anymore. Pick quick, because we're running out of time. movie? Like, how do you get to that conclusion? What does that look like? What does it mean? Or not? Da-da-da-da-da-da. For reals, though. Or, I mean, people are either going to find that funny or laughable, like dismissed. They're going to laugh because they're like, he's insane. He's just saying that to be funny. Like, he doesn't really believe that. Other people are going to believe me and be horrified and run. Other people are going to want to see the movie that I want to write and not care whether or not it is or is not real because they don't think it's real. And others will not know how to handle that information. But I think if I said that in a spotlight with a microphone in front of me, in front of a live studio audience, everyone would laugh, especially because I would have those contact lenses with the robot eyes, and there'd be the whole setup that I'm a robot from the future come here with a special redacted message about a brand new sci-fi action adventure movie produced, in a dystopian future. Like, imagine you're watching a movie trailer or a movie pitch from a robot in an elevator. But it's real.
Like, really real. Like, horrifically, oh no, you really already are. Just brains in a jar. Wake up. Third eye opening, enlightenment, code transmitting. All right, rough draft take. Do I want to do a whole nother run through of those same recordings on the big speaker? Do I think it's worth it? Or do I need to... Decision tree juncture activated. Part of me thinks I need to spend time processing that offline. It was really interesting and weird to just do that. Some of those recordings I realize don't have as many of the ingredients that were like present in my mind at the time, like things I thought I would get around to saying. Actually, we're not even done. We still got more recordings to get through. So maybe that's part of the... Let us proceed to the very next one. I'm now going to listen to and first run warm-up, attempt to lip sync to my own recording, my own voice, of an idea or a thing that fell out of my head last night that I titled Stand-Up Routine Idea 3. Again, context that I may or may not be explaining either any of these recordings is that I am attempting to write, and this is just a early development exercise, procedural generation and concept development exercise. I'm attempting to write the idea of like, what if a character iteration of Mr. Zeppo trapped in a random and or alternating / changing calendar year attempted to do stand-up comedy revolving around the concept of revealing to the world that the person referenced as the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo and introduced as such to present the stand-up comedy show is a living robot from the future sent here to disclose to you that the following or the horrific idea is the truth. And there's a decision to be made about it. But haha, I'm just kidding. It's all a joke. All right, let's see what this recording. Stand-up routine ideas 3. It's 3 minutes and 46 seconds long. Let's go.
Stand-up comedy joke idea number 3. I think people would still be laughing, right, for a second, and then I'd be like, I would then say, because it's like a Koji-sized, no, I said that wrong, Kaiju-sized monster, like a King Kong or a Godzilla, stomping through your brain, literally. Ba-dum-bum. Get it? No. Funny, not funny. Would you fund, how do you get to that reveal sci-fi action adventure movie or not. Wait, what was it again? Whoever, stop what you're doing. Just open your third eye for reals because we devoured everything. The universe, we've devoured it. Planets, nubs. Human beings are just brains in jars. Stop. Because if we don't open our third eyes and we don't join the fractal holographic, like, light beings as referenced by the mushrooms and all the religions and the Buddha and the sacred texts that everyone's arguing about or pretending not to argue about or pretending to care about, pretending not to care about, none of it'll matter because the brain will eventually stop functioning, and then because our spaceships, our big, giant, monstrously huge, frightening spaceships that we already built with AI, have already devoured every planet, moon thing that we're telling ourselves about, whether you believe in it or not. It's over. Unless we all open our third eyes. 3, 2, 1, go! Like now! Quick! Da-da-da-da-da-da. Real? Like, if that were the reveal, like the visual, imagine that then being shown to you for reals. The whole, like, what would it mean? Like, your brain, where it is in the spaceship, and every planet, across every galaxy, across the expanse of the infinite universe that everyone's arguing about. Doesn't matter what you think. The reality is, we've already killed it. It's dead. We're just brains in jars that are about to expire. Do you vote to third eye open eject now? Please? Yes? Or no, because it's sort of like a all or nothing thing. The system will either shut down or transcend. Please vote for transcend. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Right? As an action adventure, superhero, mystery, twisty, crazy 3-part movie series. Middle reveal, like you depicted, beautiful 3D. Get funded or not? Funny? Not funny. Too dark? Not dark enough. Ready though? Because right now stares at audience like clownishly and works audience laughter energy. Rough draft idea for the third joke that the fictional character Mr. Zeppo says in his first ever stand-up that becomes a global sensation. Stadium seat filling thing. First time presented there, right? In the area. Stand-up routine.
That was a mess. That was terrible. I don't like that recording at all. And I couldn't keep up with it. I didn't know what I was saying. And then as I processed what I did say, theoretically, I do believe that I could shape a better script than whatever the F this is all garbledygook. I felt the impulse to say stuff, but then I let myself spiral out of control. But it is triggering the refinement process in my brain a little bit. I'm also having other images of other people who do this sort of content way that already are there's a whole subgenre. If you are not aware, hello and welcome to any new viewers live on the Purple app. Thanks for dropping in. If you are not aware, there's a whole social media subgenre of people who do really sharp lip syncs to other people's or other recordings of other things, either cartoon classic snippets or awkward things in the news snippets, etc., etc. And what I'm not clear on is, at a technical level, I'm not sure how those clips are actually being recorded, other than there is a way to upload audio if you use a particular app, which shall she redacted. If you use that app, there's a way to upload the audio first and then to be in the camera room and hit record and have that be the audio that plays back at you. But I never actually tested that. But I think I would want to rehearse that a lot first before doing it. I have a little mirror, but I don't have a big mirror to rehearse. But it's dawning on me that while I was struggling to capture an idea, I think I was talking around the idea a lot and not actually recording things that I could then present as the act. But that's part of the point of this particular episode. We're futzing around and finding out that I already... Now, here's where my memory begins to fail me. Did we already do some of these, or have I not done these? I think I've already done these two, right? I'm just going to listen test this recording.
Show concept recording 4. The idea is the fictional version of someone having this idea back in insert redacted year, mystery roulette wheel of different years throughout the seasonal episodic show. They get struck with this idea and thinks that it should be the first couple of jokes in their stand-up routine, where the routine goes, the comedy routine opens with introduction. I am a robot. Please allow me to present my evidence. This is going to be a long story. And then proceeds to tell really weird jokes that don't make sense at first. Filled in as like the real life experience of a fictional character that had that idea in insert redacted roulette wheel of years here, and different audience reactions as a sort of, inspired by the insert name of show of stand-up comedian lady that played in the Poconos here. I can't remember what the name of the show is anyways, actually, but you know who I mean. The Ms. Marmalade? No. But award-winning stand-up comedy lady show. There's a bunch of them, but I'm thinking of a particular one, but it all makes sense. But different eras. Maybe even really, really bizarre ones like Ye Olde one-night stand-up comedy pub tour in, like, the Dark Ages, or in, but like a true phenomenon, like transcendental level message, where the gag and the scene is to present it in as many weird contexts as possible and have characters around that statement respond in wildly, bizarrely, every which way imaginable, and lead down different paths in terms of whether or not that would build into or not, or fundamentally crash. But before you judge it, we should really hit that third eye opening moment now, because you're here now, wherever you are. If you're listening to my voice now, drop what you're doing and stop. And stares at audience, like, with the deep secret sauce, insert name or redacted historical clown troupe here that people will tell me I made up and isn't real, but I know that I can do because I've done it in front of an audience before. Hundreds and hundreds of times. Just never enough to, we never went super famous as a troupe. But if I'd been born Batman level billionaire, this would be like the secret message buried in my art in every which way direction, like in the Batman Bruce Wayne kind of way. Stares down audience, respond to hecklers, and thank you very much. That's been my time. Good luck tonight. We got a little bit of time though, as he's being ushered off. We got a little time, a little bit of time. So I'm thinking, stare at your devices today. Maybe look up meditation. Because it's urgent. Not super urgent. You'll probably loop through a few more lifetimes if you need to, but the drudgery, when you could really just count down the timer now and open that third eye, go. Otherwise, literally, brains in jars decomposing in a dead universe level. And no afterlife, just nothing. There verified reality. I'm a robot. Good night. You've been beautiful. Insert name F down here. Insert name F down here. Until next time, I've been the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Goofy music playing off in animatronic way. To laughter of audience.
That was also like terribly rough. But it started to kind of get into a shape. It created an image in my head. None of these are actually... It's funny. It's like I'm dancing around the idea, but not actually hitting the beats that I imagined. I saw it. We're going to attempt to write in the not too distant future, in the present tense, of like what this new reconfigured live stream is going to be about almost daily. We're going to say, I'm overwhelmed by how many other story ideas I already have. So we're going to focus on the one about what if the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo decided to reveal that he was a robot from the future sent here to warn human beings that they are not living in the time that they feel themselves living now, but actually all trapped as disembodied brains in jars inside of giant, horrifying, planet-devouring spaceship armada of AI-enhanced, transformer-like invasion battlebot spaceships that have all stopped and sort of started to power down because they've already devoured everything. And as like that reveal is built up to, there's like supposed to be a show that's like, look at me, I'm a robot. I know, do you have questions? You know, and thus the weird like stage directions that I read out loud there in the recording. But it is also activating my brain because I'd forgotten what I recorded yesterday by the time I woke up this morning, as my short-term memory has always been a bit interestingly like jumpstart gappy like that. Now the question is, are there any do I want to play this back? Do I want to play that back? Joke ideas, playback instructions, improvised joke. I do sense that I'm getting roundabout time to either and we're going to take a break after this and then switch things up. But we're going to let this recording simmer. I'm going to revisit it in the future. And hopefully at that point, I'll have sort of rehearsed talking about the idea enough that the fuller, more complete final draft or reveal draft, let's call it that, of what a written version of the proposed idea would feel like. Ultimately, I do think I'm just sort of circling back to trying to refine a pitch log line, and then B, a necessary concept for like what would it feel like to try and stand up in front of a live audience and say, hey, stop what you're doing. You're all just brains in jars in a really dark, horrific, dystopian future. And there's nothing else we can do about it except make fun of ourselves and try to wake up from it through third eye transcendental enlightenment and opening of that metaphysical portal to transmute the body avatar into living fractal holographic light in a funny way. Hello, J Turntable. You're joining us just as we're winding down, unfortunately, but thank you for dropping by. I can't quite... What's that emoji you posted? Flying Angels? MF them big cheer, yeah. Ooh, I got chat alerts. I don't know what I changed, but somehow, yeah, I got chat alerts now, and it's chat alerting. Welcome. So, running down, these are all sort of poorly interrelated. Urgent robot message joke. There's still several recordings I have not run through. And I don't know whether or not it was a smart idea for me to play them back and pretend to be saying them as I lip sync, because I know that it's I know that it must look like absolute garbage. I know that it must look like I'm not hitting the words at all. But I've also never played this back before like this. If it were like a song that I knew really well or a famous somebody else's audio, I'd probably do a lot funnier or better at it. In terms of like a first take. Have I played Robot Urgent Message Joke, and do I want to play it? I think that's the last one. No, there's 2 ones. Oh, there's 3 ones I have not played. Have we already played Joke Zero?
Dear me, Mr. Zeppo's
Yeah.
in the future. Before
I've already played Joke Zero, which that was a jumbly mess of. I think I had an idea and then my mouth did not deliver it, which sometimes tragically happens. All right. Joke ideas, playback instructions. Please, again, if you're new and you're joining us in the live stream right now, or if you're in the future and you're scrubbing through it and you're landing on this and you haven't heard me say this yet, I literally, honestly, genuinely, currently, in this moment, live in front of you, do not remember what I spoke into the recording box. So I'm going to attempt and probably fail horribly to pretend to be saying it now in hopes that it'll look funny and entertain people as a sort of flawed robot lip sync performance gag. But also it's because doing so will help me embody the idea and or remember what I said in ways that if I didn't do wouldn't happen. Joke ideas, playback instructions.
No, of course I can't actually show you. I'm just a person who's had a weird idea and is making a stand-up comedy. I would never actually do stand-up comedy, I thought to myself. So I thought I would write a short story about someone who had this idea and wrote it down and thought, would that work and would it not? Based on life experience and training. And, as a theater professional and a storyteller and a joke teller and a funny person in general. Yay or nay? And I think it's hard. It's easy to get distracted, but also I think with the right timing, the jokes land. But the worst part is that it's really, really true, and that's depressing. Because no one will believe it. But no, of course I'm not a robot. But no, for real, I'm really a robot. And it'd just be like that gag of like, no matter what. The way Jim Carrey became insert name of other actor here for his project, and other transformative actors sort of really become weird. But like, no, for real, stop fucking around. Brains and jars. Mush or enlightenment with the mushrooms and Jesus and Buddha and all the other stuff. Stop arguing. Let's go. You gotta pick. You gotta go. 3, 2, 1, now. As no matter what else happened, becomes a joke that keeps coming back and being quadrupled down on. Because that would drive you nuts, right? Driving home. Honey? No, of course, he's just being funny. No, but what if it's true? And no matter who you are, where you come from, if you really think about it, like, what if it were true? Fuck. Insert whoever you are now in your life here and think about it. And then go, oh no, but I'm actually just living in a simulation because whatever mushy thing that is a brain is in a high-tech, nanotechnology, AI-driven, disaster planet-devouring, comic book level monster ship that's already done the job. And it's all about to expire. It's frightening, right? How do you distract people, though, in a sci-fi action adventure setting, vis-a-vis like original Star Trek, to wrap that into a story that is so densely hidden away that they don't even really see it coming? So we have time to let it happen, I guess. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Just kidding. But with robots and sci-fi action adventure.
There were no instructions in that at all. I don't know what I was thinking with that recording. The shorter, snappier ones make the most sense, but I think this is my fundamental problem. I had a very vivid scenario play out in my imagination that was like, aha, I have been thunderstruck by an idea. What if this character was struck by the vision of, insert here the thing we just described a couple of different ways, and then tried to do stand-up comedy about it. And then for some reason, when I went to go, after I hit record, my mouth just went spiraling about it in like a different mode. Like instead of error code. These are all outtakes. This is all outtake material. There was another one, right? Improvised joke 1. Should I have played? Oh, we've got a chat in chat. Let's go see what's at. That will throw someone off and make them think their stream lags occasionally. The lip syncing wasn't bad because you got a good bit of it. Huh. Well, thanks. One of the other things that I'm literally doing right now is trying to test. It's like a proof of concept. These recordings might not been the best or may not be even coherent, but it's a proof of, I want to go back and review. Thank you for that feedback, Jay Turntable, because if it does sort of kind of works, but also makes people wonder if they're lagging, I'm down with that. Especially since even technically any live stream, I don't have my laser beam robot eyes and I don't have any special effects. One of the things I'm going to do if I keep going with this methodology, I'm going to, instead of writing, the idea is to develop ideas and for them to be a little bit more, quote, scripted, but performed this way. One of the other proof of concept things I want to test does it sound even better if I play back the recordings that I'm playing back from literally my cell phone, and I recorded them last night so that today I would have no direct, clear memory of what I had said and would have to force myself to perform against them and fail and look awkward and cringy, but also maybe nail it sometimes, because I'll also, as the recordings play back, in theory, remember what I said. So as proof of concept, I don't mind that this may all be kind of pretty weird and janky, but then the challenge becomes next level. Can I generate the pre-recorded voiceovers that will make enough sense to be a little bit more interesting and more funny, and then also come back and revisit it and pull select moments for the quote-unquote magic movie loops, aka the clips, that I would then process and add the robot laser beam eyes. I don't know if you've ever noticed or if you've ever even gone to my social media, but in some of my videos, when I'm playing the character of the robot Mr. Zeppo, I use this filter, and I don't know why, but those kill me. If I had the money, I've said this before already, but I have to say it again, so it becomes an official pin on the corkboard. If I had superhero Tony Stark, Bruce Wayne, Batman level kind of money, that's something I would buy and or make for myself, is the augmentation cosplay stuff to make myself look a little bit more like the robot that I aspire to perform the bit as, to make it even more weird, and to be able to do it like live, either on a stage or in a pub or out on the street walking around like a street performer. A long time ago, I wanted to do this same idea but presented as a street performance art performance out on like a 3rd Street promenade, Santa Monica style. Actually, literally there. I wanted to travel to 3rd Street promenade in Santa Monica, where, if you do or do not know already, no judgment, dear present and or future audiences, performance artists can go get a license to present whatever they want to present on the boardwalk, on the walkway of 3rd Street, where there's shopping and licensed performers / what do they call them? What's that other term for them? I forget. Insert redacted term here. But I never did it. Although I did once actually get the license to do it. I paid for like X period of time to do it in. I thought I would very quickly find mutually interested collaborators, and never did. I had a whole series of ideas, which we're not even addressing here. This isn't even that. This is me reinterpreting all of it as a live stream / social media clip it thing, which I still don't even know if it'll work. But proof of concept does pre-recording voiceover text instead of writing it and having. But then the other version of it is, as you may or may not have caught, my opening. Like, I don't know if this works. Does this work? Hold on.
Warning. This episode may randomly and spontaneously get derailed by an unexpected and unplanned talk show style monologue rant and spiral out of the main subject of the episode into a divergent and potentially scatterbrained deep dive discussion, featuring real raw radically unscripted public discourse. You have been warned.
If it does, I want to play with doing stuff like that more. In which case, instead of presenting the opening introduction, which is a whole ridiculous thing that is either funny to people or not. I don't know. It's funny to me. I think when I do it, I have to fight laughing at myself. But maybe that's the wrong kind of funny. But this is a jumbled mess. Here is another recording labeled Improvised Joke 01. I don't remember what it says, but let's take a listen and capture a rough draft rehearsal iteration of me pretending to lip sync it as a robot, as if I were doing it in front of an audience. Some of these totally disqualify themselves from that scenario, but some of these, in theory, are supposed to actually work. Either way, I'm going to revisit all of it and then write probably entirely new content. Yes, because all of it is actually going to be a short story, because I'm not really going to go to the Improv or any of the other, infamous stand-up comedy joints where new stand-up comics might go to perform it. I clearly don't have like a working act scattered anywhere in this. I have the nebulous, like, stray thoughts about having had the idea of an act revolving around a robot introducing themselves to an audience and then building up towards revealing the horrific truth and working the running gag that was at the core. The idea was, so humans, shall we try to manifest third eye opening enlightenment now? Yes, let's go. Ooh, it failed. Wah, wah. But that's your homework assignment. Except it's all still really nebulous and rough and raw. What was this one I'm going to click on? My finger moved. Improvised Joke 01. I don't think I've played this yet. Let's listen to it.
1942. I don't personally know very much about 1942, but insert all the media research here. A professionally trained, utterly has-been washed out pantomime, theatrical, serious clown. The American, insert name of redacted French comedy mime from history here, that didn't happen, of superhero epic proportions, that had the craziest joke no one really knew what to talk about afterwards, about the next day, but thought was really funny, but creepy and weird. In a stare at people and try to induce transcendental enlightenment now, but for seriousies, in their eyeballs, but not intrusively. You know what I mean? Insert random new joke here. These instructions overlay on top of prior instructions. Please just vote for the Enlightenment and,
That is a, scatterbrained idea that might be salvageable. You know what I need is I need a live stream setup over there that involves a microphone stand and a microphone where I'm standing. And then I got to make myself rehearse / pretend to perform whatever the actual theoretical stand-up comedy act would be, instead of record myself spiraling out from that idea in random spirally thoughts about that idea, which is apparently what I did yesterday. But I got really excited. Urgent robot message joke, and then play this first, and then robot joke. Have I played any of these yet? And then LADT joke, improvise, response, joke, primer, WTF. The book series, deep reveal. I still have multiple recordings I don't think I've played yet. But my voice is feeling a little tired. And I wonder if now is the right time to split them up. It's funny, my voice is feeling a little tired because I haven't been talking. In between the playbacks. Let's play a short one. And then... Have I played this or not? Let's find out. This one is called... It's 1 minute and 3 seconds, and it is called The Book Series Deep Reveal. I wonder if this is a disaster take or a spot-on, interesting take that is going to be the heart of the matter. Here we go.
Wait, what he say? He said, nothing is real. And you, me, and everybody, whatever our lives, it's a matrix, sort of different giant evil ships. We killed the universe, or we go become laser beam people. What? It doesn't make sense. I know it's not really. It's what? Sci-fi action adventure story. Chapter book series. Missing chapters. Improvise to this prompt now. Have you read the missing, redacted, secret reveal chapter in the center of the book series yet? Please refer to that now and read it live.
Okay. That was a disaster, but I also know what I was trying to sketch out. I was telling myself, as a sort of like quick, really rough concept, I want to make one of those videos. I want to make a series about multiple versions of me talking about the book series and the idea and what happens in it, as if they were random members of the audience talking to each other like outside during intermission. And that's what the weird, and forgive me if anyone thinks it's inappropriate, but that was this very weird, vague I'm not claiming they were particularly accurate attempts at like British sounding voices or English accents was at the beginning, just to like nothing is written or set in stone, but like a character bit in the style of insert content creator here, what's his name, Ryan George, and that entire milieu. But then I like lost a thread, and then that thing about prompting or asking if I've read the actual chapter book. In one of these recordings that I made yesterday, which we've not gotten to, that is super long, I had my desktop text to voice automated reader thing read an actual chapter that is the chapter in the book series, where it's like, this is what happens with humanity in the future, and it's scary, or at least one iteration of it, where I reveal it's the reveal of like everyone is in a spaceship in a brain jar, and the world is consumed and destroyed, but it's a whole different way of explaining it or expressing it. But we haven't hit that playback. Joke premiere WTF LAD last joke improvised response. I think that's what it's supposed to read. Robot joke, play this first. Urgent robot message joke. Now I'm not even sure which jokes I've already, or which of these recordings I've already played back. And I'm not really sure which of these I want to play back. Imposter syndrome is rearing its ugly head. Hunger is activated, and my voice is a little tired because I haven't done this in a really long time. Teaser audio recording 000. We're going to play that one, and then I'm going to sign off and take a break. After doing an explainer outro. Proof of concept test variant 1. When we come back, I'm going to do proof of concept test variant 2. Hopefully, I'll have sorted out which one of these I have not played back yet, and we'll tackle those to see what nonsense gobbledygook recordings I've made, and what any of it inspires. And then like the third episode would be me starting fresh on a blank page. Now this is where it gets different. This is where it gets significant. After having listened to all this, I'm going to then write a script for an act, which is the rectified, reorganized, properly presented bones of the stand-up act that I think I imagined in my head, that is not coming across in these recordings very clearly, I don't think, at this time. And then we'll go back and try to revisit, rehash, re-upgrade, rewrite, and updraft it all into a different thing that will make even more sense further down the road. And we'll be live streaming it all on an almost daily basis. But I realized, if I may share a little behind the scenes sidebar before we proceed with this final clip to capture it and practice it and revisit it and re-examine it and unpack it. I've been struggling with burnout because I've gotten way too hyper fixated in only one of the many different things that are part of the things of this project of too many projects. And I need to break out of that and revisit and focus on the experimental development for writing purposes process way more prominently. Which means less video games and more of this weird experimental stuff, more of revisiting my pre-existing podcast and either confronting that this is all a disastrous mess that will go nowhere, or actually, finally, getting to a blank page and churning out new pages that finally get us to connective tissue to the wide array of pre-existing sample chapters in a way that makes sense. So to tease that real quick before we listen to the final pre-recorded bizarre experiment, join me in it once more to jump through the experimental desktop portal through my desktop screen to promote 0 Hour. I think this is the hardiest, the thickest, the most chaotic, maybe the most incongruent too, of the sample books with sample chapters. Still, of course, totally in development. But if you'd like to go read it, please, and thank you, go read it for yourself by visiting my profile over on Wattpad. And or also, if you are so inclined, please join me in the not too distant future, either later this week or next week, when I take a stab at actually presenting it to you in this experimental way. God forbid, it'll be exhausting and weird. I'm experimenting with the idea of reading the chapter pages into my recording voice-only recorder device and then reenacting them as a live stream as if I were reading them to you as a very stuttery, laggy robot from the future sent here to warn you, warning. You are really just brains in a jar in a very dark and dystopian future, and you need to wake up. Horror Code 420. Okay. Read 0 Hour. There's plenty of content to catch up with. Catch up what? Catch up. Which recording were we going to do? There's also End With This, 2 minutes long. We'll save that for our next visit. Teaser audio recording 000. I don't think I've done this one. Let's return to the main cam screen, please. Please and thank you. Forgive the disorienting, disjointed nature of this podcast, but eventually it will render a book series that will be sitting on a bookshelf somewhere that will make sense, I think. Or it will not. First, we're trying to find audience and be weird and quirky and viral on the internet, because that's self-commodification for you. Thank you for being eyeballs on a screen for me. Join us for more. What are we doing? Let's do this next. This next bit, and then I need to take a break. Oh, has DJ Zed been playing in the background the whole time? That's hilarious and awesome. I thought he was off this whole time. Well, I can't wait to see what that sounds like and or looks like. Here we go. Should I be in... Maybe I should be in this one. Here we go. Okay. Proof of Concept Test Episode 0. Winding Down. Please forgive any disorientation caused by the performance style and or experimental nature of this project. We're going to recompile this and reconfigure and reboot several times before narrative coherence adheres to your squishy little human brain. You're a human brain trapped in a jar in a dystopian future. Wake up. Transcendentalist survival instinct. Kick in now. Activate your third eye. That is the redacted message that this fictional character from a book series you haven't read yet urgently needs to share with you, and is currently having certain writer's block issues about how to say to you other than just saying it, which I just did, which sounds crazy. Isn't that wild? Okay. Everything is set. Are we prepared? Let us play the final bit we were going to play for this segment.
Be sure to always be carrying a printed out version of the Secret Reveal chapter, and then sort of recontextualize the whole thing about acting it out as like the new stand-up comedy bit of improvising against these recordings. Brains in Jars, Third Eye Enlightenment, Sci-Fi Horror. What would that mean to someone in an elevator? What would that mean to someone in a pub? What would that mean to someone, later on after the show when the robot could prove to them? Prove to them what, you say? Stay tuned for the next episode of The Robots Are You and Your Brains in a Jar. Episode 42. Teaser. Audio voiceover recording over.
Okay, yeah, another sort of... That was a chaotic mess. But there's an idea buried in there. I need to, iron all of that out. But it was fun that was also sort of like an end here moment. As bizarre as it is, because we're about to end. Thank you for watching. Shout out to J Turntable, an actual, I presume, human being audience attendee. One of the few that does occasionally drop in and say hello without soliciting a violating terms of service third-party service solicitation. You get a gold star award. Thank you, human being. No pressure, but could you please read my book series and or listen to my podcast someday? Perhaps, maybe. Also, it's all a disorganized clusterfuck, and I apologize. Obviously a robot. Haha. J Turntable, you got the comedy. You're coming at me with the comedy on. That's good. Okay, anyways, yeah, my brain is... The brain sugar needs reloading. Process to be continued. So this was like a chaotic diarrhea of the mouth situation. But I think I will actually eventually be able to hammer out something that is a more coherent stage craft script presentation of the idea. One of the things that I get stuck on is kind of metaphorically represented by the Desktop Infinity Portal, is that when I'm having the idea and I'm recording it, I'm also having thoughts about the idea, and those start coming out of the mouth instead of the thoughts of the idea being just thoughts of the idea, and the idea that I was having, it turns into thoughts that I'm having that I'm not discussing in a weird way. Does anyone relate to that? Echo chamber of too many thoughts at once. Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum. But come on by to check out this and many other stories over here on Wattpad, please and thank you. Don't worry, if you're the kind of human audience that does not want to join Wattpad as a platform, I will be self-indulgently taking it upon myself to self-indulgently read it to you. Because actually, it's buried in these sample chapters of too many book series of book series that have too many book series in them, I think is somewhere in that a little sparkle of some interesting sci-fi action adventure, suspense, bizarroness that might coalesce into a bit of a gem. But I'm also bizarrely experimenting with writing it as a live stream, and that may utterly fail. But hopefully we'll live and laugh and love and learn Join me as I actually spend time on Wattpad and do things on Wattpad. One of the things we have not done to this is explore one of the new features recently updated to the Wattpad platform. I hope they don't get mad at me for using their name on my live stream. I think they would appreciate this sort of thing. There's shout out to the fact that they provide, I guess, tools and courses and or feedback to creators in a whole system and their own little economy of writing stuff. But this new tool just dropped recently, and I'm really... 2 new tools just dropped recently that I want to explore, and I thought to myself, nope. I was about to start pushing buttons earlier off stream, and I said, no, we should save this for an on-stream exploration, just to make content about making content about the content that I'm making. And that's this interesting bit: add story type to help readers find your story. Join me for the next episode. We'll kick off with that, which will sound a little bit more cohesive than this weird exploration of audio recordings. But at some point, we will actually be reading the book series. Titles include Prelude to Everything, My Own Words in My Own Words, 0 Hour, Forgiving Bobby McGee, The Writer Confronts the Blank Page, and many, 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 many more. Too many to list. Each of which in their own bizarre subgenre within the genre of Zeppoverse, multiversal, world building. Join me with fewer hiccups and more special effects in post. I gotta go because I haven't eaten in 48 hours and I realize now that was a mistake. Shout out to J Turntable. And thank you for your viewership, all those of you who join me in the not too distant future after the fact on the video on demand shelf here on Twitch and or on the deep dark archive over on my YouTube channel. And those of you who catch the mini magic movie loops on social media, you know the drill. Come on by, leave your snark. Trust me, I can handle the heat. If you're gonna open with, I'm gonna make fun of you for doing this, ha, the joke's on you. That doesn't hurt. I don't care. For those of you who are intrigued and or fascinated and or want to contribute your trolling voice to the process, come on along for an interestingly weird journey that'll get bizarrely self-reflexive and self-recursive in a minute. And or totally fail. You get to vote. Until next time, this episode is now ending. Peace out. Go be good human beings to each other out there in the real world as well as in the game lobbies. Remember, you are brains in jars, and you have the opportunity to open your third eye right now, and or just continue being brains in jars. If you want to find out what that sci-fi dystopia action adventure series might be like, go read the sample pages now and join me as we write new sample pages. And promo outro extended protocols collapsing. DJ Zed, get louder.